So what do we mean by selling your services successfully? Well, too many people believe that the selling is something that you do at the end. You know, you go through advertising, you go through marketing, and then when you're in front of the customer, you sell. Now, where the truth of the matter is, selling is an ongoing process. Selling forms part of your whole marketing. And as such, the areas that we're going to look at this morning, the things we're going to discuss this morning, fits in pretty much every category of the 6 steps within the toolbox. Now, I mentioned to you several weeks ago that what I was going to try and do was point out to you where certain elements of what we train, what we teach, where it actually fits within the 6-step system. So the selling process should form part of your overall marketing, and as such sits in almost every aspect of these 6 steps. So there's no one area that you can pin down for the selling to say this is where you do the selling, because the reality is, unlike most people believe, unlike most people think that you do all of your advertising, you do all of your marketing, you get yourself in front of the customer, and then when you get in front of the customer, you sell to them. And that's wrong, that's false, that's a wrong belief, it's a poor mindset, because your selling starts from the day you open the doors of your business. From the moment you open the doors to say that you are in business, you are selling. And you're selling to prospects and to potential customers that you have never even met yet. You hear me quite often say the phrase, everything you do and everything you say is marketing, or marketing is everything you do and everything you say. So therefore, selling is everything you do and everything you say, right down from your attitude to how you present yourself to your confidence levels, is all part of the whole selling process. So if you are one of these people who holds the belief that you're selling just at the end, then please get rid of that belief now. Please start to open your mind and think about all of the other things that lead up to, inverted commas, the sale, the eventual actual agreement for the customer to buy from you. You don't do the selling in the last 2 minutes. If you do, that's desperation. That is not selling properly. And it's certainly not selling a service properly. With a service, people need to have an element of confidence in you. They need to see that you're confident in yourself. They need to know that you have some longevity behind you. They need to know that you have the ability to deliver. There's a whole series of things that you cannot explain to somebody in just 1 minute at the end, where some people believe that you are actually making a sale. If you have put everything else in place, then the selling is easy. It's practically done for you. But we're going to walk through some of that. As I say, there's no one place where it sits underneath the S.P.A.R.K.S Blueprint. It is pretty much covered, or aspects of it are covered in all areas or all aspects of what you do in the S.P.A.R.K.S 6-step system. So the difficulty with what we do, not that it's difficulty, but the difference with what we do is you cannot force anybody to buy your services. It is very difficult for you to encourage somebody to have an extra socket if they don't need an extra socket. It's difficult to encourage you to have somebody rewire their home if their home doesn't need to be rewired. The bottom line is that people come to us, tradesmen, whether electrician, plumber, or gas fitter, when they have a specific need. So doing the impulse thing, yeah, okay, so there may be different ways that you can present offers to people, and we do talk about that and we deal with that in the toolbox. There are ways where you can put offers to people about upgrading their consumer unit, about installing security lighting, about having nice fancy garden lighting, about potentially upgrading their home lighting from halogen to LEDs and so on and so forth. But the bottom line is, in the main, people look for a tradesperson when they have a need for a tradesperson. You cannot walk into somebody's home and say, hey, you need a rewire, let me sell you a rewire. It's very difficult to get a sale in that fashion. And you cannot also just sit back and wait for people to come to you and buy. Because again, you know, nobody will sort of wander down the street and wander into your offices or your property and say, oh, you know what, I was just wandering home today and I thought maybe I'd need a rewire. Maybe I'd come in and see, you know, if you could sort me out a rewire. That's not how these things work. Good morning to, I think it said Paul Robertson. I'm not sure if I said good morning to you already, Paul. I've just seen your name pop up there. But good morning, sir. So yeah, you can't force people to buy, and they're not likely to do impulse purchasing for what we want. So what we need to do as tradespeople, we need to make sure that all of our selling is literally done in advance. We need to make sure that anything that we want to do as far as selling is concerned is upfront and out there, so that when people are ready, and this is the difference, when somebody needs an electrician, it is normally because, let's say, they have an emergency situation whereby something has gone wrong and they need somebody to fix it or to sort it out now. That's one instance where somebody needs an electrician. The next area could be that they have bought a property and they need to get it rewired because it's aging and because it needs to be done. It's never a want, it's never an impulse. It is always because it is a need or a must. Some of the other areas are, of course, where people need additional stuff. So it may be that they need to have additional sockets, or they want to have, you know, they've realized that they've got a shortage of things because a new cooker's coming in, or they're having an electric shower fitted, or something to that extent. But it is invariably or normally a need-based purchase. And need-based purchases are often begrudging. They're often things that have to be done, that people have to pay out for, that they don't necessarily want to pay out for. And then, of course, the final one is the niceties. It's where people are looking to improve on their properties. They're looking to improve on their homes. And this is the ones where people will be buying their fancy light fittings, or they will be wanting a nice set of garden lighting, or they'll be investing in a nice CCTV system or a security system. Not necessarily where there are needs, but where there are, this is what I want to do. I'd like to do it. It makes my home better. It makes my home more secure. It makes my home look good, so on and so forth. So those are the different types of scenarios in which people buy or purchase the type of services that we provide. And as such, all of the selling needs to be done in advance. And what do we mean by that? For me, what that means is that in advance of anybody ever looking for your service, you should be able to handle all of the objections that are in their heads. What do I mean by that? If somebody comes to you to buy, to look at your services, and you provide them with a quote, and they are concerned about whether you're going to show up on time, if they're concerned about whether you are going to be neat and tidy in their property, if they're concerned that you are qualified enough to do what you do, if they're concerned that you're going to rip them off, then you have not handled the objections in advance. Is this making sense? Because everybody will have concerns of some description when they are buying. People run through a buying sequence. They run through a process in their heads when they are making a buying decision. And everybody has a different way of running their buying process. But they will have various objections that they will be ticking off in their head. And if you have to stand toe to toe with somebody and explain that you're trustworthy, you have to explain that your value is correct, you have to explain that you will tidy up after yourself, all of that. If you have to do that on the doorstep at the time, then you have lost the battle, because the person who has answered all of those objections previously has already got the deal, if that makes sense. The more objections you can handle in advance of the customer ever coming to you, then the easier the sale is. In other words, when it gets down to the nitty gritty, it shouldn't be about making a sale. It should be just about them making a decision, and that decision would be to go with you. And we know that from everything that we do in the toolbox, there are thousands of opportunities for you to kill objections. There's thousands of opportunities for you to make sure that your customers believe that you are the right choice to actually make. Okay, cool. So looking at it from the top, successfully selling your service. you have to help people to choose you. How can you as an electrician help people to choose you before they even know who you are? What are the steps and the actions that you can take to ensure that people are more likely to select you than somebody else? Well, first and foremost, what you do need to do is you need to be visible. Interesting concept, being visible, because if you're invisible, people don't know you exist. And the number of people, and I can feel my head already going there, because the first things that come to my mind is this phrase that everybody freaking well trots out, that if you're good enough at what you do, you never have to advertise. Because every time I talk about the word advertising, that's the phrase that pops into my head, and it makes me so freaking angry. But you have to advertise. You have to promote yourself. Now, does advertising have to be paid advertising? No, it doesn't. There's many different ways that you can promote and advertise your services. But if people don't know you exist, then they cannot use your services. They can't choose you unless they actually know that you are there. And there are a multitude of ways that you can show up, whether it is doing your leaflets, whether it is showing up in a local community magazine, whether it is having banners on display, whether it's having Facebook ads that are running consistently, whether it's having a Facebook presence where you're answering questions in your local community, whether it's you joining Facebook groups, LinkedIn groups, any other groups that you can actually present yourself and make yourself known in your local community. I've said this from day dot, that it is very easy to get the status of micro celebrity. And what do I mean by micro celebrity? The bottom line is, as a local electrician, you do not need to be known worldwide. You don't need to be known countrywide. You probably don't even need to be known countywide. Okay, those are very difficult things to achieve, and the likes of movie actors, TV stars, pop stars can achieve that. Okay, for you want to be known locally within your community, within the area where you are going to be plying your trade. You not only do you want to be known, you need to be known. Again, I've said it time and time again, and this is important, guys. You need to have your name on the tip of everybody's tongue in that local area, so that when the word electrician comes up, when the need for an electrician comes up, your name should be on the tip of everybody's tongue. It should be way up on that list. Even if people have electricians in the family, even if people have a cousin who's an electrician, even if they've had electricians previously, when somebody mentions the name or the word electrician or electrical work, your name or your business name should factor somewhere in there. That's the level of micro celebrity, and that is so easily achievable in your local area by doing a few simple things. Making sure you have a social media presence. I'm not going to go into all the various details, but all across social media, you need to have a social media presence, and you need to be active on that. You need to be blogging to an extent. You need to have at least a couple of blogs a month going out about the services that you provide, and about solutions that you provide, and about the things that interest your ideal customer. You obviously need to have a website. You need to be having a leaflet stroke brochures type delivery system going out in your local community, so that you're doing a domination campaign and people are seeing your details. You need to be doing some form of speaking as well, whether that is at networking events, and you should be doing pretty much a lot of free networking events around your local community, and they exist. But also perhaps belonging to things like the likes of BNI. But you need to be out there. You need to be visible. You need to have your van sign written, because if you don't, then you are leaving money on the table. You forgetting about the whole confidence thing, but from a visibility point of view, if you don't have your van sign written, then people don't know who you are. You pull up on somebody's doorstep to carry out some work and you've got a blank van out there, then the street has missed out on the opportunity to understand who you are and what it is you actually do. You should be wearing branded clothing with your contact details on it as well. So being visible is a key part of making it easy for people to choose you. The next thing you need to do is create the expert positioning that we talk about. I did say that selling fits into a whole range of the 6 steps of the blueprint. This fits in under the expert positioning. section. You need to be presenting yourself as an expert in what you do. Experts are confident. Experts have a base of knowledge that other people don't have. So what you need to, and this isn't about showing off, this isn't about being cocky, but this is about showing your local community that you understand your trade, that you are good at what you do, that you are a specialist in the area that you work in. That helps to make it easier for them to make a decision. Why? Because people want experts on their side. People want to deal with people who know what they are doing. And again, there's a number of ways where you can create that expert positioning. We've mentioned some of them in the whole idea of being visible. One is YouTube videos. Doing YouTube videos on how-tos, explaining the type of work that you do. Not necessarily teaching people what you do, but explaining what it is you do and the complexities and the rules and the regulations. Doing topics that appeal to your ideal customers. So if somebody's interested in the environment, if your ideal customer base are environmentally friendly, then doing videos that appeal to that will help to position you as an expert as well. Writing blog posts position you as an expert. Standing up and speaking, so going to networking events and being prepared to stand up and speak about what you do presents you as an expert. There is a number of different activities that you can do that will elevate you above all of the other competition in your area. And they're simple things to do. Mind you, the majority of them are just about getting over yourself. The majority of it, like standing in front of a camera and doing video, that's just about getting over your own inhibitions and realizing to yourself, you know what, it's much better for me to actually stand in front of this camera than it is to shy away from it. Because the more I shy away from it, the more business I'm actually losing. But the same thing comes when we talk about standing up and presenting. Most people have this fear of public speaking, that they don't like speaking at networking events. So that's why they don't attend networking events, and therefore they miss out on opportunities. They don't look for opportunities to speak because they're afraid to speak. And there are opportunities all around you to speak. There are key men organizations. There are clubs of various descriptions which bring in speakers. There are youth clubs, scouting organizations, there are round tablers, there are Masonic groups. There's all sorts of organizations where if you put yourself out and make it known that you're prepared to talk on a subject, let's say electrical safety or energy saving or whatever the topic it is that you want to discuss, but by standing up and speaking, by standing up and going to these organizations, you elevate yourself way above any of your local competition. And the opportunities are out there. And you can create opportunities yourself, because you could very easily hire a room in a local town hall or the back of a pub or a hotel somewhere. You can put some promotions and adverts out there to say that you're giving a presentation on electrical safety in the home, or electrical safety in children's bedrooms, or factors to consider when booking a tradesperson, or energy saving for 2020. You could put together a talk and make it appealing enough to attract 10, 20, 30, 50 people from your local area. Put that presentation on yourself. Probably cost you about 50 quid to hire the room. Put the presentation on yourself and have a value pack at the end, whether it's a little folder with brochures, whether it's just your business card, whatever. That you have an opportunity to get your community in the room, looking at you, listening to you describe whatever the topic is going to be: electrical safety, how to choose tradesmen, energy saving. But they then start to picture you as the go-to person. Those people start to form and build a relationship with you and are more likely to use you above anybody else. So creating that expert positioning, you have numerous opportunities to do that. It's just a matter of getting over yourself to actually do it. Next thing is to be approachable. What do we mean by be approachable? Well, we all know that many tradesmen, not you of course, but we all know that many tradespersons, trade people, are all too keen to show customers where they have gone wrong. So what I mean by that is that we've all had situations where we've gone into a property and you do the old chin scratch and it's like, oh crap, I wouldn't have done it that way. Who did that? Why did you allow that to happen? And so on and so forth. You've got to make sure you're not that type of tradesperson. You've got to make sure that you are not the kind of guy who scratches your chin and tries to be superior because you have the knowledge. What you need to do is make it easy for people to come to you and discuss whatever the issue and the problems that they have, and not think, oh crap, he's going to have a go, or he's going to sound bad, or he's going to sound off because I had an idiot in to do X, Y, Z, or whatever the case is. So making sure that you are approachable, as in you are willing to listen to people's needs and not spout off on what you would do and how you would deal with it and what the regulations are and why this shouldn't happen, why that shouldn't happen. You know all of this. You confidently know all of this, and you can exude that confidence without ever having to voice it to the customer. Now, there are times where you have to point certain things out to the customer, and there are ways that you can do that. If something is particularly dangerous and needs sorting out, then you need to address that, but you need to address it in a way that is advisory rather than superiority. You understand what I'm talking about? But also, you know, in terms of being approachable, we also need to look at the contactability. So if we're visible but they can't contact us, then we have an issue. You know, if your phone is constantly going over onto message service, and people are just leaving a message, they're going to move on down the road. They're going to move to the next person. So you need to make sure that you are, you know, they're able to get hold of you, or at least a version of you. And what I mean by that is, if you're not answering your phone, then make sure somebody else is, either a member of staff in your office, your wife, your child, or you use a call answering service. You get somebody in to answer the phone. There's many of the different ones out there that will answer it for you, but they need to be able to contact you. They need to be able to get hold of you. Well, once you've helped people to choose you, you need to create a connection with people. And creating a connection, I think you will agree that when people feel connected, they are more likely to purchase from you, because we know that people buy from people that they know, people that they like, and people that they trust. And there's numerous ways, again, guys, you know, again, like I said, there's a lot of crossover in all of the things that we talk about here, because when we talk about creating your expert positioning, as part of that, which was the previous little segment that we've just done, as part of that, you are helping to engender this trust in you, because people, well, let's take it step by step. How are people going to know you without ever having met you? How can they know you without ever having met you? You know, if we go back to what I said previously, holds true. You know, when you turn up on the doorstep to meet this individual, and you first of all press the flesh, you shake hands with them, that is normally the first kind of contact that you have with people. And most tradesmen believe that that is the time where they need to be getting to know the customer, or letting the customer get to know them, or creating an impression with the customer. Whereas the truth is that all of this can happen way in advance of you ever getting the call, probably before the customer even has a need for your services. And you can do that in a number of ways. Again, it's all about the social media presence. It's all about the videos. It's all about the blogging, because people can get to know you through content. If you're writing blogs and you're giving your views and your opinions in blogs, and your views and opinions lie alongside of somebody else, does this make sense? So if your views and opinions are similar to mine and you're writing about that, I'm more likely to be reading your blog. I'm more likely to start to understand you and get to know you a little bit, because I'm feeling the same kind of feelings as you. I'm thinking the same kind of way as you. And this is about understanding who your ideal customer is. We'll come to that in a moment. So you can get people to know and understand who you are and what you do and what you believe in by writing your blogs, by posting on your Facebook page, by recording and posting videos. So, and as much as that will help people to get to know you, you've got to also understand that if you're posting crap, you know, if you are one of these guys on your profile who's posting about being down the pub and getting shit-faced after a rugby match or whatever, or you're posting political views, or you have beliefs that may not fit with the mainstream, then if you're posting that kind of stuff, then people are getting to know that. Then please do not fucking believe that when you stand on the doorstep and meet them face to face, that they're instantly going to like you and buy from you. Because if they're reading all of that crap, then they're not going to be interested in you at all. They're even less likely to call you. But if you're posting good content, if you are putting out videos out there, then people are going to build up this belief that they know you, that they have a feeling for you. You know, the more you appear on video in your local area, the more you appear on somebody's timeline, you get to feel that you know them. How many of you guys out there have met me for the first time at an induction day or at a training day, but yet you felt you knew me? Why? Because you've seen me on videos, you've seen me on live cast, you've seen me do presentations of various different things. So you get that feeling that you know somebody. And that's the kind of feeling you need to engender, because people will buy from people that they know, they like, and they trust. So if you're building up this know, like, and trust through doing your content, your videos, your presentations, if you're building up this know, like, trust atmosphere with people, then they are more likely to sorry, just got a message from Steve saying he didn't get a message sent. I'll deal with that in a while. We'll crack on with this. So yeah, you need to build up this know, like, and trust over a period of time, because you don't know when this person is going to first engage, and they may engage with you long before they have a need to use you. But it's because of that engagement that when they have the need, they call you. And if they have built up this belief that they know you through your blogs, through your videos, through your Facebook posts, through you appearing on their timeline, through your strategic Facebook advertising and your campaigns, if they build up this feeling that they know who you are, that they like you for what you do, and that they trust you because you're permanently showing up and you're giving good advice and you're talking their language, then they're much more likely to call you over the next person. But one thing that you find is probably even more interesting is, although people buy from people who they know, like, and trust, they're also more likely to buy from people who are like them. Now, how can you be like them? And there's a number of different ways. There's a number of different ways that you can. Okay, so we're talking about people buying from people like them, and how can you instill that kind of a thing in advance. Now, we all know how to do it on the doorstep, don't we? We all know that you can, in conversation on the doorstep, you can turn up and you can pick things that you have in common. Like, you may like a particular type of car, or the garden, or the wallpaper, or the paint on the door, whatever. You can build a conversation when you're face to face, and make people believe that you are similar to them in terms of their likes, needs, wants, and so on and so forth. How do you do that remotely? How do you do that from a distance when the person doesn't even know who you are yet and haven't got a need for you yet? And again, it comes back to the content that you produce and the videos that you produce and the images that you produce. So very, very simple things. And you've heard me talk about, I keep wanting to put my elbows on the table here. You've heard me talk about this previously when we talk about setting up your website or your Facebook profile or your Twitter profile. The images that you use, the pictures that you use, instead of just having you and your vehicle, or a generic shot of an electrician working in a building, you will have heard me, and maybe it's time we went back around and did all this again at some point. You would have heard me talk to you or tell you or advise you that you should be using images of your local area, local landmarks, and not necessarily hugely famous landmarks. Like, you know, in London, you might have things like the, I don't know, the London Eye, or the Tower Bridge, or Big Ben, but these are big landmarks. These are things that people would instantly recognize in and around London. But for you, what you want is local landmarks. So if there's a particularly well-known local pub, or a local monument or memorial, or a particularly well-known, like Steve Aoki has one outside of the national park, or the signage there. So having something that pertains to the local area, a view of the high street that is easily recognizable, because it gives people that sense of, oh, we're from the same area, we have something in common. And that does help to engender this you're like me type of thing. The way that this is expressed even better, guys, and I've talked about this previously at live events, is how many times have you gone away on holiday? You've gone off to a foreign country, let's say, I don't know, Spain, Greece, whatever, and you're sat in the bar and you're chatting away, and you've got all of these different nationalities around you. You may have the locals, let's say some of the Spanish or some German or some French or whatever around you in this environment. And that's all fine, and everybody's enjoying themselves and having their holiday. But suddenly you hear an English accent, and when you hear that English accent, your ears prick up, and maybe you get in conversation. Oh, where are you from, mate? Oh, well, you know, I'm down in Kent. Well, where are you from? I'm in Liverpool. Oh, right, okay, great. And you start chatting, and you get to know one another, and suddenly, because you're miles away from home, you are the best of friends. How many times has that happened to you on holiday? Suddenly, you know, if you were back in the UK, you probably would never have met this individual. You'd never have spoken to this individual. But because you're on holiday, because you have a similar, you know, you realize that you're from the UK, you become friends and you start talking. And, you know, the holiday ends and, oh, yeah, you come to my place, I'll come to your place. We'll do barbecues. We'll do all of this. And you're the best of friends. You're the best of buddies. That's because you are like one another in an environment where everybody else is not like one another. Does this make sense? And you can create that environment with your customers as well. You can make it feel like you are more like them. So again, by understanding who your ideal customer is, when you know who your ideal customer is, you can begin to start to talk their language. You can talk about the things that interest them. You can talk about the things that upset, worry, or concern them. And when you're able to talk their language, when you're able to talk on a level where you believe or you understand or you know who your ideal customer is, it begins to make you feel, sound, and look a little bit more like they are, because you will talk about the same concerns that they have. You will talk about the solutions that they need. You will talk about the things that interest them. So therefore, you must be a little bit like them. And you can interject little things like that into your Facebook posts, into your blog posts, into your videos that all make you look and sound like the ideal customer that you want to attract into your business. Hopefully this is making sense. So people buy not only from people that they know, like, and trust, but people buy from people like them. So what do? Once we have helped people to choose us, we've helped to create connections through know, like, and trust. What else do we need to do? Well, with that all done, our work should be done, because the reality is, if you have helped people to choose you, as in you've set yourself up as the go-to person and you've created that connection, then the selling should be done. Because what happens is the customer has a need. All they need to do now is choose you. They only have to make a decision, because you've given them as much information as they are ever going to get, apart from how you're going to carry out their work. And the selection process should be very easy. It should be a case of them just going, you know, I've looked at some of these videos, I've seen some of these YouTube stuff, I've read some of his blogs, I'm aware that he exists in the area, everybody that you talk to knows his name, so it must be easy for them to make the decision to choose you. So what your job now is to qualify and sort these customers out. Are these the type of people that you want to work with? If you've done everything else correct in the first instance, if you've got enough material out there where people are calling you on a regular basis, you are creating, I talk about this funnel where work comes in at the top end, and then all you have to do is filter out at the end what the work is that you want to take. And the problem is many people tend to take everything. And here's the thing. If you are taking all of the work that's coming your way, you are leaving really good opportunities behind. Why? Because you're filling your book, you're filling your diary with stuff that is just work and is not opportunities. Is this making sense? Then there's a big difference between filling yourself with work and filling yourself with opportunities, because there are customers out there who will provide you with more work, more testimonials, pay more, come back to you more. And then there are customers who will just use your services. They will argue about the price. They will shop around, and those are the ones that you don't want to have. You want the ones who are going to evangelize you. You want the ones who are going to give you the quality of work that you want. This all goes back to, and I said there's a lot of crossover in what we're doing this morning. This all goes back to understanding who your ideal customer is. And here's the point. You know, if you don't do that, if you don't sort out who your ideal customer is, then yes, your other marketing and your other advertising processes will work to a degree, but they will not be half as effective as when you actually sort out who your ideal customer is. And some people are afraid to do it because they believe that if they only target one type of individual, they're going to lose out on a lot of work. And the problem with that is again, it's a mindset issue. Yes, you will lose out on work. Listen to the difference. You will lose out on work, but work is not necessarily good for your business. The right kind of work is good for your business, but just work on its own is not necessarily good for your business. Because if you're just doing work, you're missing out. You know, if you're filling your diary with people who argue with you, people who don't understand your value, people who want it done on the cheap, if you're filling your diary with those people, you're leaving no room for the people who value what you do, who are willing to pay for what you want, who are a joy to work for. So you have got to be discerning. You have got to sort through, and you've got to work out who your ideal customer is. And here's the key to it, guys. You need to learn to say no. Learning to say no is important. How many times have you been on the way home from work of a day and suddenly the phone goes and somebody says, oh, could you just pop by and do? And you go, yeah, okay. And you go, yeah, I'll do that. Or you have filled your diary for the week. You've got your week's work lined out for you. And then on a Tuesday or a Monday morning, you get a phone call from somebody saying, could you just... And you go, oh, yeah, I suppose I could do it on Saturday morning, or I'd squeeze it into the end of Friday or something. These kind of things, when you do it, number one, it's eating into your quality of life, okay? And we're not in business just to work. We're in business to be profitable so that we can live the lifestyle that we want to live. That's the important. You need to understand that distinction. Your business should be a vehicle for living. It should not be your life, okay? Yeah, I'll say that again, and you might want to write it down. Your business should be a vehicle for living and not your life. This is important. Actually, somebody put that in quotes and put it up as a meme, yeah, and add my name to it. It should be a vehicle for living and not your life. And the problem here is that many people make their business their life. They identify with their business. They are their business. They live their business, and they do it to the detriment of everything, to their family, to their kids, to their hobbies, to the life that they dreamed of. All of that goes out the window because they feel that they have to say yes to everything. They marry themselves to the business, and they feel, if I don't do it, I'm letting somebody down. And the truth of it is, you need to stop saying yes. You need to learn to say no. So if you have your diary filled and you know that your diary is filled for the week and you're going to earn enough within that week, learn to say no to people so that you can actually then move on and do the other things that you want to do. But the other side of this is you're training your customers. Believe it or not, not only are you training yourself, but you're training your customers. Because if they feel that they can pick up the phone and get a yes off of you, and that you'll squeeze them in, and that you'll do it this afternoon, or you'll bung it into a job at the end of the week, you're training them to do that with you all of the time. You know, and I hear people time and time again say, oh, but I can't, there's no way they'll wait and they won't hold. Yes, they will. The right people will wait, and the wrong people can fuck off. Let them go, because they're not the right people for you. They're a burden on your business. They're a burden on your life. They're not paying you well enough for what you do for them. Let them go. Change your mindset, because the right people will wait for you. The customers who value what you do, who build a relationship with you, will wait for you to come. But you've got to train yourself to say no. Because if you don't, you'll attract the wrong kind of customers. You also need to, when you're looking at the qualifying and sorting out your customers, you need to look at the lifetime value of the customers. Now, again, this goes back to understanding who your ideal customer is, but understanding the lifetime value of your customer is so important, because you may pick up a customer. You may pick up a customer for, did I swear again? I'm sorry. I do that sometimes. Sorry, Neil. But the lifetime value of a customer, sometimes you'll pick up a customer who has just been a minimum charge job. It's just been a 65, 75, 95 pound job because it is your minimum charge. But that can lead to so much more. You need to look at what more can come out of that. You need to be aware of the fact that if you handle this person correctly, that not only will they come back to you time and time again, but they will also bring back their family members, their friends, their colleagues. These are the kind of people you want to work with. And when you're designing and looking at who your ideal customer is, and you run through the process in the toolbox, when you go through all of that in the toolbox, you need to be looking at some of the demographics. Some of the things you need to look at are, have these people recommended me? Have they mentioned my name to other people? Have they introduced other people to me? Because these are the type of people that you want to be doing business with. People who will talk about you in a good way, people who will introduce you to other people, people who are happy to introduce you to their network of friends and family and colleagues. But this all comes down to identifying and designing who your ideal customer is.